the Jey Uso problem. I cannot even keep a straight face. Ladies and gentlemen, in this video I wanted to talk about Jey Uso, okay? The Yeet Man himself. And the thing is, Jey Uso has been very popular, for the past couple of years, ever since pretty much he left the bloodline, went on his solo run, got his new theme song, and then started eating. But the problem is the gimmick is starting to get stale and people are starting to get tired. And I think WWE are starting to notice it, at least I hope, otherwise this is not going to end well. Basically, let's backtrack a little bit. So, um Jey Uso last year won the Royal Rumble was the first issue because before that he had won the IC title, people were happy, they were like, okay, nice, he finally gets a little push, gets a singles title, works well. But after that, he challenged Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship like twice, if I'm not mistaken, and lost both times. And then after that, wins the Royal Rumble. Last eliminates John Cena. John Cena, in his final Royal Rumble. And then goes on at WrestleMania to beat Gunther and make him tap out to his own move, which was already kind of bull, you know? Because like Gunther, we saw it recently, started to retire like everybody, and then Jey Uso was just, of course at that time Gunther hadn't retired anybody, but he was still presented as like a big guy in the next like main eventer. And just to tap out to your own finishing move that early in your career, like okay, Jey Uso wins the World Heavyweight Championship. Okay, happy for him. That's nice. Reign is pretty average. His promo on the next night, well, 2 nights after, I think, on Raw was atrocious. He didn't even say anything pretty much, just started eating. Um, and then after that, eventually lost the championship, but kept on having opportunities nonstop. He kept on being put in those situations where he could be like the next champion, the next challenger after he lost the championship. Especially that time when Seth Rollins relinquished the World Heavyweight Championship, they had CM Punk face whoever was going to win the Battle Royal on Monday Night Raw. And instead of giving it to people like AJ Styles, that people were like, AJ Styles, CM Punk, I'm in for that, or even Dominic Mysterio, which would have been interesting at that time, they decided to give it to Jey Uso. Another big issue, still pushing him for the World Heavyweight Championship, even though he is not a main eventer. Like, yes, he won the World Heavyweight Championship and he's hype with the crowd, etc. But you cannot tell me that Jey Uso is on the level of guys like Roman Reigns, CM Punk, John Cena, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, etc. The only reason he's doing good, or he was doing good at that time, was because of his gimmick, of the yeet, the crowd so hyped with him, etc. So they have him uh challenge CM Punk at Saturday Night's main event in like September, October, maybe a bit later, for the World Heavyweight Championship. Thankfully, CM Punk retains. And then after that, they start pushing him a bit towards, going back to a tag team with Jimmy Uso. At War Games, they put him with Jimmy. So, like, okay. And then eventually they gave the tag titles to them. Amazing. Okay. You know, like, it's nice. I was glad, and I think a lot of people were glad to see the Usos back together as a tag team, you know, because first of all, they're really good as a tag team. And, Jey Uso's gimmick is nice, but people did not want to see him being put in a main event spot again, challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship or the Undisputed Championship. They didn't want that to happen. So, okay, he's back in the tag team. They're tag team champions. The Raw Tag Team division needed a bit of help. So it was nice to put the tag titles on them, bit of hype, etc. And then comes the Royal Rumble 2026 edition. First of all, the match was it was bad. Okay? Right winner. Okay, some interesting moments. But man, first of all, the masked man, attacking Braun Breaker, taking him out. And then, there were also a couple of weird moments, but I want to talk specifically about entry number 25, if I'm not mistaken. Being Jey Uso. I'm sorry, kind of sick, but Jey Uso enters at number 25. Walks in from the crowd because he's different. He's not like anyone else. He can't just walk down the ramp and get in like he did at Royal Rumble 2025 where he won. No, has to come in through the crowd. And he's not running, he's taking his time. Stops to yeet with the crowd. And then during his entrance, Brock Lesnar gets eliminated. Now, I know that a lot of people are not fans of Brock Lesnar. There's a whole story and everything. And I don't mind that. Okay? You have your own opinions. That's completely fine. You think whatever you want of Brock Lesnar, feel free. My issue is whether you like him or not, Brock Lesnar is still a very big name in the company. And the history throughout the Royal Rumbles was whoever was able to eliminate Brock Lesnar would likely challenge him at WrestleMania. Whoever eliminated Brock Lesnar from the Royal Rumble, that was just a massive push in itself. You know, in like 2017, I think it was Goldberg that eliminated him. They had a match at WrestleMania. You know, in 2020, as soon as Drew McIntyre eliminated Brock Lesnar from the Royal Rumble, Drew was looked at as the hero, the next guy, the guy that would take down Brock Lesnar, and he did at WrestleMania 36 in front of no one. Very unfortunate, but still, it pushed Drew McIntyre to the moon. He was seen as a main eventer all of a sudden. So this year there was the same thing of like, okay, whoever eliminates Brock Lesnar, they're gonna get probably a little push. They're probably gonna have a match at WrestleMania, and technically there were only three reasonable options if you ask me. Option one being Braun Breaker, because in theory Braun Breaker is gonna go against Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. But depends. Maybe Seth isn't gonna be ready, whatever. So Plan B, I'm sorry, signing him against Brock Lesnar could be interesting. Option two, Gunther. The match had been rumored for a while. Gunther versus Brock Lesnar, very interesting. Okay, and then option three, Oba Femi, which I love. Incredible stuff. Muy caliente. He did awesome in the Royal Rumble, but he was the one eliminated by Brock Lesnar. And who eliminated Brock Lesnar? Cody, Raheem Rhodes, and L.A. Knight. Yeah. My issue with this is that, first of all, it's two guys eliminating one. And second of all, it's not going to be a Brock versus Cody match at Mania. And it's not going to be an L.A. Knight versus Brock Lesnar match at Mania. And even worse than that, because I'm getting off track, getting back to our Yeet Man, this elimination happened during Jey Uso's entrance. That is the issue. That is the problem that I have with this. It seems like WWE are trying their hardest to make people hate Jey Uso. It's the same like phenomenon as Roman Reigns in 2015. They're just shoving him down our throats. You know, at least they seem to not be pushing him that hard. He was not in the final four of the Royal Rumble, unless I'm an idiot, but I don't know. He wasn't. No, he wasn't. But still, having one of the biggest names in the company, maybe like, and he was like one of the top three names in the Royal Rumble this year. A legend. Once again, whether you like him or not, I respect your opinion. But having such a big name, such a big guy, eliminated during Jey Uso's entrance. And not only that, but also after Brock was eliminated and finally Jey Uso got to the ring, thank God, he ran it back again. Started eating. And this went all the way up until entry number 26, which was Roman Reigns. And WWE loves to claim, I don't think that is a true fact, but WWE loves to claim that there are 2 minutes between each entrant. Maybe there was 2 minutes between Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. That means that Jey Uso's entrance went all the way from his entrance number to Roman Reigns' entrance number. And you're like, okay, 2 minutes, not that bad. But considering in a Royal Rumble, where the average entrant is going to get like 10 to 15 seconds of an entrance, having Jey Uso take up a whole 2 minutes where there's no action and the only action happens during his entrance with Brock Lesnar being eliminated. I think that is the problem. I love Jey Uso. I was so happy when they sent him solo. I was happy when he won the IC title. But they need to be careful not to make the same mistakes that they made with Roman Reigns back in the day. And the same kind of mistakes they are close to making with Cody Rhodes. You know, they need to be careful with Jay because he has a special character, something that we haven't seen in a while. People being that invested in an entrance is rare. So the WWE need to be careful with Jey Uso and not putting him in too many situations, not always giving him title shots and etc. I think for the moment and maybe even this whole year, he needs to be just a tag team guy. Needs to be focused with Jimmy Uso. Maybe put a bit of respect on Jimmy Uso's name. You know, it seems like it's all about Jay. They use his entrance when they come out. It's, they're yeeting and it's, you know, I think respect should be put on Jimmy Uso's name. But once again, love Jey Uso. I think there's a lot of potential for him if they utilize him well. But if they keep on putting him in situations where the crowd has no other choice but to despise him, and not in the way that like you hate a heel like Dominic Mysterio, people truly hate him. They cannot stand him. It's starting to look that way at least. It's still split. There are still people that would die for Jey Uso. There are a lot of people that are starting to get tired because the booking of Jey Uso is reckless. This is, of course, my opinion, and also a couple of people's opinion because I've seen a lot of comments online. Once again, I'm not trying to diminish Jey Uso. I'm not trying to go against the WWE. They're still doing good, but I just wanted to share with a lot of people that might not even understand why some people are hating on Jey Uso. I'm just trying to lay down the facts. You know, the reason for all of this hate being brought up recently is overdoing the Yeet thing, especially with him running it back, is, the constant pushing for World Heavyweight Championship shots and stuff like that, and being put in the Royal Rumble and Survivor Series and etc. And the Royal Rumble incident, and the fact that he's been struggling in one-on-one matches, With all of that being said, once again, big respect to Jey Uso. I love this guy. I think they just need to bring him back as a tag team competitor, but I'm curious to hear your opinion. What do you think about it? Do you agree with me? Do you think all that I'm saying is just complete garbage and I'm not right at all? It's completely fine. You can leave your opinion down below as long as it's respectful. I'll have no problem reading it, responding to it. Maybe I'll do another video and I'll react to your opinions. I've got no problem with that. With all that being said, thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe. It's completely free. It takes 1 second of your time and you can always unsubscribe later. And yeah, thank you for watching and bye.